So recently in my feed, I saw a video come up from a channel called AI in Context. And honestly, it got me so angry that I felt like I had to make this video. Um, there seems to be a lot of misinformation and fear mongering going on right now. So I kind of want to break it down. There are essentially three lanes or current opinions in AI speculation and where AI is going in the future, in my opinion at least. One seems to be that AI is the new God, and that's a good thing. Two seems to be that AI is the new God, and that's a bad thing. And three, which is a majority of normal people, is that AI is, just another tool that can be used to help with your daily life or with whatever your job is. So the first of these main opinions is people like Jensen Huang in the All In podcast. I don't understand why anyone listens to that, but whatever. Number two is the main opinion of people like Dario Amodei. More on that in 1 second. And lastly, the third is how most normal people interact with AI. Kind of like I was saying before, most people just see it as a useful tool that can augment, some sort of their job or day-to-day life, like taking a picture of ingredients in their fridge, getting ideas for dinner, or vibe coding some random application that ends up leaking the credentials of all of its users. So what really set me off about the video, though, is just how similar it sounded to this number two camp that I talked about and the kind of stuff that Dario Amodei is constantly talking about. It sounded so familiar that I felt like there had to be some sort of link to Anthropic. It was almost verbatim the same kinds of things that he says or people from Anthropic are saying in press releases or other videos. I noticed, the video is produced extremely well. It looks good. It's a great video artistically. It's produced well, directed well. And there's obviously a great deal of money behind whoever the guy is in this video. I've never seen him before. But, it got me thinking. OpenAI bought TBPN, which is kind of like a Silicon Valley, almost like a sports center type show, but for tech. So I was thinking, why wouldn't Anthropic do something similar, but in kind of a slimier way, like they typically do whatever they're doing. So first thing first, I look at this 80,000 hours page that the channel is partnered with here. Looks like it's something that was, maybe originally about like work-life balance, finding, joy in your job and what you do, but looks like it has also morphed into, one of these outlets that's telling you AI is going to kill you, take your job, and you probably want to blank yourself because of all the advancements. You should sign up for this job program, or whatever. Maybe that's a bad read, but I looked at it for about 5 minutes. And fair enough. Some people are legitimately worried about this kind of stuff. It has a real impact on the job market. Most of it is companies just getting so excited to lay off 50% or so of their workforce that they end up destroying their entire engineering team or HR team or whatever, and then having to hire them all back. But that's another story. What really interested me though was who was funding this, because it sounded exactly like Dario Amodei. So I scroll to the bottom of the page for 80,000 hours, and I see a link for donors. Kind of assumed as a nonprofit, they have to disclose that sort of thing. So I click on it, open it up, start scrolling down. It looks pretty standard. There's some weird things in there like Berkeley Existential Risk Initiative. I didn't even click on that. It just sounds insane. But I realized I saw something at the top of the page. This organization called Coefficient Giving. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I know exactly what this is. Where's this coming from? Why can't I place this? And it hit me. I'd been researching Dario Amodei's background a few days ago. I was just interested in kind of where he came from. So I clicked on his page, was, reading through his Wikipedia, clicked on his sister, Daniela's page, who's the co-founder and president of Anthropic, just to see kind of what her background was as well. And I also clicked on her husband's page, Holden Karnofsky. and was just reading about him. And that's where I saw coefficient giving. So, let's just get this out in the open. A group called AI in Context, which made this video, is promoting fear-based content that matches up almost exactly with the type of things that Anthropic and Dario say about AI, like how Claude has anxiety and needs a therapist so it doesn't break containment and kill everyone. And their biggest benefactor is coefficient giving, which is ran by the husband of the president of Anthropic, whose brother is also Dario Amodei, obviously. So that's like 1 degree of separation, and I was surprised they didn't try to bury the lead a little bit more on that one. But hey, teach their own. So at this point, I know most of you are probably wondering, why is that even a bad thing? Shouldn't we be happy that companies like Anthropic are paying attention to safety in AI? Aren't they being responsible? Isn't this a good thing? Shouldn't we praise them for what they're doing here? Well, no. You see, there's a pretty common playbook in newer industries. It all comes back to something called regulatory capture. From CFA Institute, the concept of regulatory capture, reg capture, typically refers to a phenomenon that occurs when a regulatory agency that is created to act in the public interest instead advances the commercial or political concerns of special interest groups that dominate an industry or sector the agency is charged with regulating. When regulatory capture occurs, the interests of firms or political groups are given priority or favor over the interests of the public. So how does that relate to Anthropic? Well, let's listen to Dario and have him explain.
Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei is raising a red flag about the dangers of the rapid advancement of artificial intelligence.
We need to collect better data on what's happening, right? There's been a lot of debate about what's happening in the labor market with AI now and what will happen in the future.
In a lengthy essay, Amodei, whose AI company is valued at nearly $1 trillion, says the release of AI models should be blocked or reversed as a threat to public safety if they do not meet high standards of safety.
How much of an onus falls on you, falls on Anthropic?
I think we're building it. The onus is on us, right? I think the government has a role in setting standards, in helping us identify and track down threats. So the government has to do its part as well, and I think the government is starting to do its part. But the onus primarily falls on us. I think the justified anger comes from the fact that there are real risks to this technology. Now we're proposing stronger regulation of the technology. We're proposing giving the government the ability to, again, in a narrow way, block deployment of unsafe technology.
Dario and Anthropic have been actively screaming to media outlets and governments about how big, bad, and dangerous their models are, to the point where they even got Fable 5 shut down in other countries, but they extended it to the USA as well. Dario has testified in front of Congress demanding that their industry be regulated and that the wholesome Chungus companies like Anthropic are given the ultimate responsibility of making happy AI that gets the therapy it needs, not some open source model that doesn't cost $10,000 to run for, 6 hours. So what Anthropic really wants here, and Dario, by extension of that, is for you to be afraid. They want you to be scared of a new technology so they can ask the government to come in and regulate it so you can only use their version. They want to create equivalents of, the FCA, but for LLMs. And what this ultimately boils down to is the destruction of your freedom to run the sort of software that you want on your own computer. If Anthropic had it their way, cheap, inefficient models like Gemma, Qwen, DeepSeek, and even like GPT OSS would be completely banned from public use. They would be deemed a public security threat. But, what really annoys me is the way this sort of content affects people psychologically. When you're constantly telling people that the world as they knew it no longer exists and that you are building products that will make humanity obsolete, you are creating undue stress and fear in people's minds at a time when the labor market and economic outlook are already major stressors for most people. generative AI and LLMs specifically have been around as a consumer product for about half a decade now. And every 6 months, we hear that all the jobs will be automated in 6 months. And then it comes around and that doesn't happen. And they say it over and over and over again. You know, what it comes down to is these companies are trying to manipulate you. They're trying to manipulate the government and the media, at least the parts that they don't already own. And they're pretty much winning in every way right now. I think it's on consumers to call out some of these bad practices and sort of demand that these companies be more accountable for the sort of content they push out and also the content that they pay other people to push out. I don't really have much else to say about it. I wrote this up in about like 5 minutes or 10 minutes. I didn't really plan much, but I just felt like I had to get it out there and get it off my head. And yeah, that's it. So thanks for watching, and hope you all have a great day. Take care.